UFC Fight Night London, Evloev versus Murphy just happened, and I'm going to go through the entire card from the bottom all the way top, give my full card reaction, and break down to what I think happened in each fight, and the result of my predictions. I did pretty well on this card. I would have done very, very well on this card had the main event gone the way I thought it should have, or would have made me even better on this card if it had gone the way I was okay with it going. But we'll get to that big rant when it happens later. Um, right now, we're going to start with the first fight of the night, which ended with a performance of the night bonus. Chanel Dyer versus Ravina Oliveira. Chanel Dyer gets a knockout in the second round. Starts with a head kick with straight to the cheek, then some finishing punches. Gets Ravina Oliveira down, finishes her pretty easily. The Melissa Mullins fight had fallen through because I believe her opponent missed weight by 8 pounds, but yeah, Chanel Dyer did very, very well in this fight. Took the first round slow, but then the second round was able to fully capitalize and uh, knock out Ravina Oliveira, which doesn't really happen that much in women's MMA, so it's pretty good to see. Then we move up to Shamrock versus Abdul Karim Al Salwadi. Shamrock loses this fight pretty obviously. Um, Gets kind of outdone in most of the moments of the fight. Just little shots here and there. And Abdul Karim Al Salhadi wins just more exchanges. Shamrock got bloodied up, looked like he had more damage. So it was just not a good batch of factors for Shamrock. And yeah, he loses this fight. Not really much to say. A good win from Abdul Karim Al Salhadi. And Shamrock's on the cutting block either after this fight or in his next fight to be cut from the UFC. Then we move up to Louis Sutherland versus Brando Pericic. This fight went exactly how I expected. Louis Sutherland had really nothing for Brando Pericic. Brando Pericic landed some good shots. Is looking good as a heavyweight. He's dangerous. He's strong. He's tough. Um, and yeah, looked really good out there. Louis Sutherland just got pieced up and knocked out. Yeah, Brando looked really good out there. Just put it all together, lands good shots, lands hard shots, and does kind of exactly what you expect him to do in this fight. Um, and yeah, Louis Sutherland loses. I'm kind of moving quickly through this one because I know I'm going to spend a lot of time towards the end of the card and on a certain fight that's coming up. But also, not many of these fights were really that interesting or compelling. Um, and so it's kind of hard to just stay on them. Montas Cadavericius versus Antonio Ciccoli. Again, Antonio Ciccoli, super athletic, has the techniques, has all that stuff. He's just really dumb. Montaz just out uses intelligence in this fight and wins it because Antonio Ciccoli does not know how to fight another human being. Um, and Montas just actually put damage on Antonio, threw hard shots, went for difficult punches, and was willing to accept a punch to throw one out. And Antonio was not willing to take a punch and then throw one out. It was just that was the way it was. 135 total strikes for Montas to 29 total for Antonio Tricoli. Montas, yes, slowed down as the fight went on, but it wasn't like he was completely out of there by the end of the third. He was still in there. He was still beating Antonio, and yeah, looked decent out there. Looked somewhat dangerous. Um, Antonio's a tricky problem because he is durable and he is so athletic and tall. But so I think there is some lesser competition that Montaz can finish, but it is him struggling in moments against Antonio is not really the most inspiring thing to see for his future. Then we have Mario Pinto versus Felipe Franco. This fight was boring. Oh my god, nothing happened. Felipe Franco probably won the first round, did better. Mario, as the fight went on, got better. And won this fight pretty clearly. But Felipe made it more difficult for Mario than it needed to be. Mario just decided that, hey, this guy's a wrestler. He, I believe, trains with Jailton Almeida, who was one of the most dominant wrestlers in the heavyweight division. Yeah, I'm gonna try and wrestle this guy. I'm gonna try and take him down. I'm gonna try and get him up against the fence the entire fight. And at moments it worked, but it was 2 for 14 on takedowns. Just strike with him. If you committed to the striking, you would probably win this fight by a finish, and he just didn't commit to it. He didn't look like he really was confident to be in there, and yeah, it was a very disappointing performance from Mario Pinto. Even though he won, I got that one right. So far on the card, I had gotten two wrong. I believe I got the Shamrock. No, I had gotten one wrong because I got Shamrock wrong, and then I got this next one wrong. So yeah, moving on from Mario Pinto, Felipe Franco. Mario Pinto, very boring fight, underwhelming performance against a very not deserving level of competition. Um, and yeah, Nathaniel Wood versus Lucien Kieta. This fight was actually pretty interesting. It wasn't a bad fight. It was a close fight, very competitive. Nathaniel Wood, he could deserve to win it. I personally was slightly leaning more towards Lucien Kieta, but it was a very close fight, and I do get Nathaniel Wood winning it. These two were both very fast out there. Not too much power from either of them. Um, I think what really lent it towards Nathaniel Wood's favor was a lot of the leg kicks. But Lucy Keita, underwhelming debut after all the hype for him. Um, I think he could have probably beaten Pitbull because I wouldn't be surprised if Wood could beat Pitbull. But yeah, this it was a whatever fight. It was interesting. It was cool to see them moving pretty quick. They were both getting in and out of shots pretty good, landing good leg kick from Nathaniel Wood, and yeah, very very fast hands from Lucien Kieta. Don't know where Kieta goes from here. Probably gonna have to try and find some lesser competition at featherweight. Nathaniel Wood, give him a shot into the rankings already. Give him the Pitbull fight. If after or give him the winner or loser of Pitbull Pico. Nathaniel Wood deserves something interesting. Um, give him the winner though. Give him somebody in the rankings of the featherweight division. He deserves that after all he's done. And yeah, very good performance from Nathaniel Wood. Um, but underwhelming from Lucien Kieta. Then we move up to Mason Jones versus Axel Sola. This fight is one of the reasons I'm moving so quickly through the card because this fight is insane. It was so good. Fight of the year so far. This one fight of the night, and this is fight of the year so far. These two went out there, decided to throw down. Neither one wanted to back up. Mason Jones got dropped in the first round bad with a spinning, it was supposed to probably be a spinning back fist, but turned into like a spinning elbow slash forearm. Exosola dropped him bad, won the round because of that. And then in the second round, Mason Jones put it on him hard, went at him, was winning majority of the round, um, and yeah, stole that round. Then it was 1-1 going into the third. So these two already set by the tempo of this fight that hey, we're going all out for this. We don't care how much damage we take. Sola had a bad cut on his cheek. Jones had some blood and wearing on his face and redness. Um, and they went out there in the third round and they gave it their all. And Mason Jones at the end, towards the end of the third round, kept pouring it on and pouring it on hard to the point where he got Axel Sola up against the fence at the end of the fight and was kneed him like 12 straight times into the face and into the arms and into the body. And it was an incredible fight. Beginning to end, they just stood in the center most of the fight through all they could, and yeah, they went for some takedowns. Exosola did, got some, but then Mason Jones had impeccable scrambling and would get up every time. Mason Jones is one of those fighters that you're gonna tune in now. No matter what fight, you gotta tune in because he always has somewhat interesting fights, and it doesn't matter if he's out in the first round. He could come back. This obviously this picture it perfectly encapsulates it. I don't know if you can see it behind where my camera is, but it's the Martin Scorsese Absolute Cinema, and it was. I mean, these two just went at it. It was such a fun fight. Um, this takes over for my fight of the year so far. I have a list where I update it as big awards could happen. I had Gaethje versus Pimblett as my fight of the year so far, and this one takes it because this in 3 rounds I was more on the edge of my seat for majority of this fight than I was for the Pimblett Gaethje. And that's saying a lot because Pimblett Gaethje had stakes. It was two very well known, beloved fighters, and they were the main event of the first Paramount fight. This was two guys who, yes, are somewhat well known, good, decent prospects on the undercard of UFC London Fight Night in a 3 round bout that went to war. And yeah, I loved it. Comeback of the year too for Mason Jones. He had my comeback of the year last year, my pick for it against Blagiaki, where he got hurt bad and then came back and finished Blagiaki. But yeah, I love this fight. Um, Deserved fight of the night, far and away, and yeah, loved it. So happy to watch this fight. This one will be one of those ones that you rewatch every now and then. And yeah, there's nothing to say. Mason Jones, you gotta tune in for Mason Jones fights now. Um, just you always got to. He's one of those fighters. Can't wait to see where he goes next because now he's on a 4 fight win streak, I believe. Um, what were the last ones? He won a fight before the Jeremy Stevens, then he won against Jeremy Stevens, then he won against Blagiaki. Now he's won against Axel Sola, and I believe made Axel Sola no longer undefeated. And yeah, just just very good performance and fight all around from these two. Moving up to the main card, Curtis Campbell versus Danny Silva. Curtis Campbell, the Pink Panther, the second ever person to wear the pink shorts other than Sean O'Malley himself. And he gets slept in the second round, 30 seconds into it. First round, he didn't really have too much success. You could tell there was a power difference. Danny Silva is a tough fighter to get in your debut, and Danny Silva's looking good. He just put it together. He was able to kind of nullify most of what Curtis Campbell did. Danny Silva then goes out into the second round. He had stopped most of the takedowns in the first. Took the stop. Yeah, he stopped most of them in the first. Then goes into the second. Mixes it up with the boxing and lands to the body, crosses to the head, drops Curtis Campbell against the fence. Lets him back up, gets him against the fence again, stuns him. He drops a little bit. Then another shot, drops him bad, and then the fight is called off. And Danny Silva wins by second round knockout, beating Curtis Campbell. And yeah, very good performance from Danny Silva. Stayed calm, stayed collected, and did what he needed to do. Not too much to talk about in that fight. Danny Silva, though, is a prospect to look out for at featherweight. Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen with Curtis Campbell next, but Danny Silva, very, very good performance in the main card opener slot. Then we move up to Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan. I am so happy this fight went the way it did. Christian Leroy Duncan outstrikes, outdamages. Clearly, Roman Dolidze just outdoes him. Reddened his face right up. Landed nasty leg kicks, nasty body kicks. Great punches. Almost had Dolidze out of there like 2 different times. Dolidze had his moments. He got the back in the third round for a good bit. And had moments of success where he was controlling this fight, but not to the point where he won it. He was raising his hand like he won it, but CLD clearly won this on damage. It wasn't really debatable. Roman Dolidze just isn't able to do enough. He's not willing to cause damage to other people to the point where he can outdo somebody like Christian Leroy Duncan, who is only out there to cause damage. Very fast hands, very fast kicks from CLD. Landed a spinning head kick at one point that kind of pushed Roman Dolidze. I wouldn't say wobbled him, but pushed him around. And yeah, very, 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 very good performance. Was a somewhat fun fight. When CLD was controlling the action, but when it was Roman, it was not the most impressive performance ever. But yeah, that was pretty much it for that fight too. CLD gets into the rankings. I can't wait to see what they do with him next. Yeah, it's. I wonder who they're gonna have him fight next. Maybe like because Brendan Allen, I guess, is fighting Edmund Shabazian, which is insanity. That makes no sense. Brendan Allen should be fighting Dricus du Plessis. Maybe it's gonna be Dricus versus Imavov. And then so maybe Caio Barrio versus Christian Leroy Duncan. If they want to give CLD a big shot up. But yeah, the middleweight division is so uninteresting to me right now. CLD being in it adds a little bit of a spark to the whole division as an entirety. Then we move up to the feature fight, which was Baranowski versus Austin Lane. Iwo Baranowski wins a or performance of the night and does it in 28 seconds. Goes out, lands a right hand and then a left hook onto Austin Lane, drops him. Some ground and pound, finishes the fight. Iwo Baranowski looked good, did exactly what he needed to do, just slept Austin Lane, and yeah, after the last fight where he had the bar brawl with Ibo Aslan, and then goes out and sleeps Austin Lane in a round. Awesome. Light heavyweight. Austin Lane was coming down to light heavyweight. Austin Lane needs to be cut, but Iwo Baranowski, that was very, very good. I'm always gonna be excited for his fights too, especially after the Ebo fight. Um, and he's just gonna go to war for the UFC, and I'm so excited to see his next fight, his next performance. Um, Give him somebody higher end of the out of the rankings. So the unranked area of light heavyweight, give him a higher ranking or higher level unranked light heavyweight. There we go. Jumping around my words, but Iwo Baranowski, great performance. Not too much to really say. Is this what I have a picture of? Yes. So this is him running away from him. Literally in 28 seconds, just perfect. Um, got on the mic after, was obviously doesn't speak English first language because he's Polish, but did good enough. And seemed pretty nice out there. So yeah, very, very happy with this fight and this performance by Iwo Baranowski. Then we move up to Michael Venom Page versus Sam Patterson. So that wasn't actually the feature fight, the last one. This was the feature fight. I forgot all about this fight. Michael Page versus Sam Patterson. This was a snooze fest. I'm gonna go real quick through this one, because there's not really anything of importance to talk about other than Michael Venom Page wins at welterweight again. The only person he has lost to in the UFC is Ian Gary. He has beaten Kevin Holland, Shara Bullet, uh, Jared Cannonier, and then Sam Patterson. And he did it. This fight, the rounds were all close because all of MVP style. The first round literally there was no action at all. It was just hopping, 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 and then one or two shots, and then MVP stole that round. Sam Patterson or Michael Venom Page, I think, did win the second round. I wasn't paying all the attention in the world to this because I could tell after the first round this is going to be a vintage Michael Venom Page, where he does go to decision. I didn't really feel the oomph of, oh, this could be a finish. Sam Patterson just didn't seem enough out there. He's not going to figure out MVP striking. Give MVP some fun fights. Let's see him versus a Leon Edwards. Him versus a somebody at middleweight that's fun. Somebody, just give him fun fights. That's what MVP is here for, is to fight fun fighters in fun, interesting matchups that we've wanted to see because he was in Bellator and we could never see him. So give him Leon Edwards. Give him the give him anybody of interest in the actual rankings. If he can make it to a title, then let him make it to a title and let him try, because he's like 38. He's not getting any younger. Just let him fight fun fights. And yeah, Sam Patterson loses. Sam Patterson will be back. He's a decent enough fighter. It's just MVP. It's an impossible style to figure out on the feet if you're going to mainly strike with him on the feet. Um, Unless you're like Ian Gary and you take him down. So yeah, Michael Venom Page wins in a very, very boring fight. When Michael Venom Page is exciting, he's one of the most exciting fighters in the sport of MMA. When he's boring, he is one of the most boring fighters in the sport of MMA. It's not like just wrestling matches in the UFC can be boring either. Like, that was MVP is a very fun fighter, or a very entertaining fighter typically or sometimes, but can have very boring performances, and that was one of them. Then we move to the co-main event: Luke Riley versus Michael Aswell Jr. This was a tough fight for Luke Riley. Both of these guys kept it competitive, very good fight, close fight, and Luke Riley probably lost the first round, maybe could have won it. But Michael Aswell had his moments just as the fight got on. Luke Riley clearly ran away with it. Got better and better as the fight went on. Was landing shots better and better. Was landing a left hook a lot cleaner as it went on, and his right straight as it went on. Decent leg kicks, and Luke Riley just started putting it all together as the fight kept going. Um, Outdid Michael Aswell Jr. on damage. Not really. He did outstrike him, but not by too much. Um, and yeah, he put it on him in the as the fight went on. He kept pouring on the pressure, pouring it on, and wins a very good competitive fight that it was expected to be competitive. Um, Not the most competitive fight ever, but it was expected to be one where Luke Riley would have to go through it a little bit, and he did. And yeah, very good performance. Excited for what he has next too at featherweight. This was a very featherweight heavy card. Um, and Luke Riley can keep going with this momentum of being one of Petty the Baddy's training partners and being on this 2 fight win streak, and he can keep going. Excited to see what they do with him, and yeah, there's not too much that I really need to talk about. It was just very impressive work with the striking from Luke Riley. Lots of body work and mixing it up to the head with the leg kicks being incorporated. And he looked really good out there and really showed the level in striking that he has over Michael Aswell Jr. But Michael Aswell Jr. held in there and did look decent. He just wasn't good enough to beat Luke Riley tonight. Now, here we are, the main event of the evening, Mavzar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. This fight was this was so annoying. So annoying. I I picked Lerone Murphy, and so obviously I have little bits of bias with this. And I don't like Mavzar Evloev as a fighter, even in the slightest. So I have bias. But watching that fight, there is no world where Mavzar Evloev won that fight. There is not. Quite literally, there is not. I do not see how you can give Mavzar Evloev 4 of those rounds over Lerone Murphy. I don't. I do not. There is not a single world where you can say Mavzar Evloev beat Lerone Murphy 4 rounds to 1. Because that's what the judges said. 2 of the judges said that he beat him 4 of those rounds. And it only ended up being 3 rounds because of the draw. The draw round in the fourth. That because of Mavzar's 2 nut kicks, and the second one being where Lerone was literally standing there in his stance, not moving into it, and Mavzar kicked hard and straight into the nuts of Lerone Murphy, that he got a point taken away, which honestly I was happy about because I don't like Mavzar Evloev, and that should have secured it. After that point, there should be no possible way Mavzar Evloev won that fight because I think there is no possible way that Lerone Murphy lost the second round. There is no way, and every judge agreed with that too. Round 1, Lerone Murphy won that round. Simple as that. He won that round simply. So that is 20 to 18 going into the third round. Third round, I think the third round was competitive enough to give to Lerone Murphy. I think Lerone Murphy had moments earlier on in that round that won him that round over Mavzar Evloev. But Mavzar took it in the end, so let's give it to Mavzar. So let's just say that it's 2 rounds to 1 Mavzar Evloev and 2 rounds to 1 Lerone Murphy winning it, and Mavzar Evloev has the one. Then we go into the fourth, and Mavzar Evloev wins this round. He does better in this round. He fights better. He wins this fight. He struck most of this fight, which was, I think, in his mind, partially because he was wanting to put on a better performance to earn a title shot more, but also because Lerone Murphy was doing exactly what I said he would, which is stay on the outside and move around the cage and keep his movement very good, attack the legs, attack the body when he can, and just stay long. And that's what he was doing, and he was stifling some of the grappling. Eventually he got hurt. He said he popped his hip out and it hurt real bad, and that's he said about in the third or fourth is when he thinks it happened, which it coincides a little bit more with the slowness that he started to show, but he was doing what he needed to and stopping Mavzar from getting takedowns. Um, Lerone Murphy then, so say he loses the fourth, but it's a draw because there's a point deduction. So it is 2 rounds to 1. So round 1 to Lerone, round 2 to Lerone, round 3 to Mavzar. Round 4 would have been to Mavzar, but is a draw. So that's null and void, but let's just say it goes to both of them. So that's 3 rounds to 2 for for Lerone Murphy. Because it would be a draw round. Round 4 is 9-9. All the others are 10-9 rounds. Round 5, you go into it, and scoring it, you have to give that round to Mavzar Evloev. He did more damage. He won that round. It was competitive, but Mavzar Evloev landed more, had good takedowns, and beat Lerone Murphy in the 5th round. So that is 2 rounds, the first 2 rounds to Lerone Murphy, 3rd round to Mavzar, 4th round to both or to neither, and then round 5 goes to Mavzar. So that is 2-2 or 3-3 if you count it as a draw round to both of them. But this should be a draw. This fight should be a draw. And yeah, that sucks for the division if it's a draw, because then it turns to Sterling versus Zalal on the Apex for the main event or the title shot, or it goes to Gene Silva. But this should have been a draw. It should have been. There is not a world where Mavzar Evloev won this fight. You cannot watch this fight back and say that Mavzar Evloev convincingly beat Lerone Murphy for 4 rounds. And that is what 2 of these judges said. One judge had it a draw, and rightfully so. And I think I'm stretching saying that it was a win for Lerone Murphy, but I think it is a massive stretch to even say that Mavzar Evloev won 4 rounds. I think, because in my mind, you have to understand when I'm saying that I think it's a massive stretch. I am having to stretch to give Mavzar 3 rounds convincingly. The last 3 rounds convincingly to Mavzar, yeah, the last 2 are definitely. The 3rd round is not certified to Mavzar. This fight should have been a draw. No questions asked. That is a crazy robbery. And Lerone won this fight, too, in my mind. But I'm willing to set that aside as, yeah, that's just me being biased. Because I did want Lerone to win. I did want Mavzar to lose. But this should have been a draw. Rounds 1, rounds 2 to Lerone Murphy. Rounds 3, 4, 5 to Mavzar Evloev with a point deduction in the 4th. That makes sense. But to say that Mavzar Evloev convincingly beat Lerone Murphy 4 rounds to 1, that's difficult. And this puts a damper on what could be the final fight of Alexander Volkanovski's career in such a big way. Because I think Mavzar and Lerone in this fight get beat by Volk. I think both of these guys could get beat by Diego. I think Diego could lose to both of these guys. But I think Diego could also beat both of these guys. This fight was so underwhelming. Aljamain Sterling, I think, beats Lerone Murphy because he would be constantly shooting takedowns. I think Aljamain Sterling in a 5-round fight beats Mavzar Evloev. I think Aljamain Sterling is the 2nd best featherweight on the planet right now. And if Yusuf Zalal proves me wrong, if Yusuf Zalal sleeps out Aljamain Sterling, I would not have a problem with him getting the title shot over Mavzar after this performance, where I think it should have been a draw. It's probably going to be Gene Silva versus Lerone Murphy next. Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez could make sense. Aljo versus Zalal somewhere gets put in there and would be in a mix for a title shot. If Aljo goes out and sleeps Yusuf Zalal, because if we're in the world where, say, Aljamain Sterling on that Apex card goes out, 1st round, slings an overhand and brutally knocks out Yusuf Zalal, you're telling me you'd rather see Mavzar Evloev get that title shot over Aljamain Sterling? Or say Aljo goes out there and grabs Yusuf Zalal and submits him in the 1st round. Just rear naked chokes him, submits him 1st round, arm bars him first round. Arm triangles him, first round, second round. You're telling me that he doesn't deserve it over Mavzar Evloev, who he had a razor close decision with and could have won that fight and is a former bantamweight world champion. That you would rather see Mavzar Evloev fight in possibly Alexander Volkanovski's last ever fight instead of Aljamain Sterling versus Alexander Volkanovski? I don't know if it's just me, but coming off of what should have been a draw should not earn you a world title fight where this should have been a draw. If this was a draw, nobody gets it. This should have been a draw. Now, I have a problem with Mavzar getting it because he won this fight? No. He should get it. He should. Logically, he should. Do I want to see that? Do I want to watch it? No. Because I don't feel as though Mavzar Evloev won this fight over Lerone Murphy. I don't think either of these two won this fight. I think this was a draw, and I don't think really anything came from this other than a robbery. And it sucks for Volk's career that he's going to be going into a fight against Mavzar Evloev, which is deserved. Mavzar does deserve it because he did win this fight. The winner of this deserved the title shot. But there was no winner in this fight, truly. It was a draw. But Mavzar Evloev going into a title shot off of a very underwhelming and sketchy performance where it could have been a draw, should have been a draw, should have been a loss. In any logical world, Mavzar Evloev does not win this. And then 5 years from now, when Alexander Volkanovski, if Volk beats Mavzar, 5 years from now, when Volk's retired and done, and we look back on his career and we say, well, yeah, but his final fight was Mavzar Evloev, who was coming off of the Lerone Murphy robbery and didn't really seem like he should have been in there with Volk, but he also was undefeated, and it sucks a lot of the air out of the division. Having this be this way, the result going this way. If this had been a Mavzar Evloev ragdolls and beats on Murphy, if this had been a Mavzar Evloev stifles and drowns out Lerone Murphy type of performance, I would have been like, okay, he completely deserves it. If this had been a Lerone Murphy barely stays out of the way of Mavzar and manages to beat him and gets to the decision, I would have said, yeah, Lerone Murphy, I'm excited for that fight. But now it's a draw robbery, goes this guy going to the title shot. Mavzar Evloev deserves it. I don't want to make it sound like I don't think he should get the next title shot. He should. I just don't care about him getting the next title shot. Win or lose for him, I do not feel like he is the best featherweight in the world right now. I think it's Lerone Murphy or Aljamain Sterling are the best two. Or it could be Yusuf Salah. So, yeah. That's just me ranting, being pretty butthurt, salty, awful about this fight, because this was such an obvious draw. Such an obvious draw. We've had fights that have gone to a draw that don't deserve to, but this one was a clear 4-1 decision over Lerone Murphy. Watching that fight going into the fourth round, I was genuinely thinking this is 2-1 at the worst, 3-0 possibly. To turn out that actually it was 2-1 Mavzar, or that was it. One judge only saw it the way I saw it going into the fourth. So, yeah. Mavzar Evloev gets the next title shot, deserves it, should get it, book that. He deserves it. Unless Aljamain Sterling has the performance of a lifetime and literally grabs Yusuf Salal and flatlines him with a punch, I think Mavzar Evloev deserves this next title shot. Aljamain Sterling is the only person who I would consider giving the title shot over him if he literally flatlines out cold Yusuf Salal, or puts on the most brutal, dominant clinic of striking and wrestling and submissions we've ever seen. but it seems like probably in August, September, we're gonna get Mazur Evloev versus Alexander Volkanovski in what could potentially be Volk's last ever fight. Um, and yeah, that was the end of the fight. I went, I believe, 9 for 14, if I'm not mistaken, because I got four other ones wrong, and then I got the main event wrong. Main event should have been a draw. I'm gonna keep saying it and keep being salty, but yeah, overall it was a decent night of fights. Mason Jones versus Axel Sola is by far the standout and was such an amazing fight. And yeah, there was some decent performances. MVP stunk up the whole place. Luke Riley had a great performance. The main event was okay until the end, and then the decision really got bad, um, and really put a damper on the night. This was kind of like a UFC Seattle from Timu. Well, UFC Seattle last year. Cejudo Young Song Yadong. This was a Cejudo Yadong card from Timu where the prelims were okay, the end prelims were pretty good. Then we get to the main card, it's okay, and then the main event stinks up the rest of the place and puts on a um just sour mood. But yeah, UFC Fight Night Evloev versus Mercy. I went 9 for 14, 9 for 14. And yeah, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, follow. Check me out on Devin MMA on YouTube, TikTok, whatever. Um, Next week is Adesanya Piper, and yeah, come back for more. Thank you for watching, and good night, goodbye, and whatever.